some cases, you will need to make requests to third-party sources. For example, grab a Twitter feed or grab an image. There are various methods out there for retrieving content from external sources with PHP. WordPress isn't very biased. Instead, it provides an HTTP API that tries all methods out there, so you aren't limited to just one. The HTTP API can make any request you want, whether it's a POST or a GET request. Let's try using this API now. Right now I'm looking at one of our recipes. Do you remember how we created this piece of info? If you recall, we created a template separate from our code and used the file_get_contents function to get this info. However, a lot of hosts out there disable the file_info PHP extension. Relying on this one method to retrieve content will eventually cause us to run into errors. We should let WordPress handle the best method for retrieving content. Back inside the filter-content.php file, let's update this function to allow WordPress to handle the requests. In the resources section of this lecture, I provide a link to the HTTP API codex page. If you scroll down, you'll find a list of helper functions for using the HTTP API. The WP remote get function is what we want to use. Let's use this function now. Inside the filter function, define a variable named recipe_tpl_res. Its value will be set to the value returned by the WP_remote_get function. This function has two parameters. First is the URL. I'm going to use the plugins_URL function to retrieve the URL to our plugins folder. Keep in mind that this must be an HTTP URL and not a system URL. Also know that the URL doesn't have to be from our own site. You can make requests to URLs outside of our site. The second parameter we can set is additional headers or info about this request. This is optional and we don't need this kind of power at the moment, so we'll let WordPress decide the default settings. This function will end up returning an array that will contain various pieces of information about the request sent. Fortunately, WordPress also provides a set of utility functions to help process and grab the information we care about. Replace this contents function with a function called WP_remote_retrieve_body. This function will parse a response object and return the contents of the response. So replace these values with the response like so. Let's refresh the page and we should receive no errors. Our content should still be displaying along with the recipe template and its data. That's it for the HTTP API. Feel free to read up on the documentation to learn more about it. As an exercise, try doing the same thing to our recipe creator shortcode. If you can remember, this shortcode also uses the file_get_contents function. Replace that with the WordPress HTTP API. Good luck.